Hey there friends, I have another video that I'm still working on. It's some kind of screwy things that are going on, so I'm trying to verify a couple of facts about it, or at least alleged facts. But I did want to cover the video regarding Joe Biden, Donald Trump's comedian, and the whole Puerto Rico trash thing. All right, as you guys know, Donald Trump had a comedian at his Madison Square Garden event on Sunday that came out 3 or 4 hours before Donald Trump spoke, and said in the course of his comedic act, again, this was comedy and this was an act. Donald Trump did not write his script for him. He came out and said that there was a floating pile of garbage that was Puerto Rico. Got some groans in the audience, things like that. But you understand where this came from. The left lit their hair on fire. They had a field day. This was their chance to say that there was racist stuff that Donald Trump said. You know how they've already tried to make it sound like it's Donald Trump's Project 2025 whenever he's probably not even read the thing yet. They've tried to tie him to that. So now they've already tried to make it sound like Trump approved what this guy was going to say, which we all know is BS. Trump very likely did approve the guy, and somebody had to explain to Trump why this guy was okay to have at this event speaking. But I can assure you that Trump did not approve personally. There's no way he approved that joke. And so what if he did? It literally was a joke. In fact, a lot of people will tell you that Puerto Rico is known for its trash. There are very nice parts of Puerto Rico. There are mostly trashy parts of Puerto Rico. This was not an attack on Puerto Ricans. This was an attack by this comedian on Puerto Rican government, allowing trashy areas, kind of like San Francisco. You can make a very similar argument or joke about San Francisco right now, and most people would erupt in laughter because they can relate to the trash in San Francisco. Most people don't understand the trashiness and the trashy nature of Puerto Rico right now simply because they haven't seen it or they haven't been there. But it would be perfectly within the limits of a joke to say that very same thing about San Francisco, because what they're talking about and what they're joking about and what they're poking fun at is the local politicians allowing this type of trashiness to exist. Again, this is not a reflection or a dig at the actual people who live on that island. But that didn't stop Joe Biden from coming out literally during Kamala Harris's speech yesterday. I mean, she was literally on stage talking, and Joe Biden felt the need to come out and say that all Americans who supported Trump were garbage.
Trump has no character. He doesn't give a damn about the Latino community. He's failed businessman. He only cares about the billionaire friends he has and accumulating wealth for those at the top. You know, he says immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country. Give me a break. He wants to do away with the birthright citizenship. Who the hell has said that in the last 100 years? And just the other day, a speaker at his rally called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. Well, let me tell you something. I don't know the Puerto Rican that I know, or Puerto Rico where I'm in my home state of Delaware. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Now, they quickly came out realizing how stupid Joe Biden is and how unable they are to shut him up only 6 days out from the election, and had to retract this. Again, Joe Biden has likely never, ever logged into social media. Even whenever he knew who he was and how much, let's just say, waste he had in his diaper, even when he was conscious of those things, he likely still never logged into Twitter or X. But somebody from the Biden administration felt the need to clarify his actions. Under the moniker of Joe Biden, they said, earlier today I referenced to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump's supporter at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage, which is the only word I can think of to describe it. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable. That's all I meant to say. The comments at that rally don't reflect who we are as a nation. Well, the joke at the rally definitely does not reflect what Donald Trump thinks or what the comedian thinks because it literally was a joke from a comedian. So to tie that directly to Donald Trump is asinine. But I want to point something out to you. If we're all going to sit here and get worked up about being called, honestly, it doesn't bother me that that Joe Biden thinks I'm garbage. I do believe that's what he meant to say. He was referring to us as garbage if we support Donald Trump. I don't care. Joe Biden, now understand, I can use these words. I have a special needs son. By the textbook definition of the word, Joe Biden is mentally retarded. So I feel sorry for his lack of awareness and his lack of being able to do anything, to function on his own. But before Joe Biden dove into dementia and became mentally incapable or mentally retarded, Joe Biden was an asshole. Joe Biden has been an asshole for 50 years that he's been in politics. Likely an asshole before that. So Joe Biden has been an asshole for as long as I've been alive. And I know it doesn't bother him that I think that about him, because surely he knows that most of us think that about him. Joe Biden's opinion of me or anybody that I know, I don't care. It doesn't make any difference to me. I don't give any credence to anything Joe Biden says. Joe Biden is a piece of crap. He's never had a real job. He's never worked. He's never put his hands on anything and made anything. He's never earned anything. Joe Biden has never generated any source of revenue. The only thing he ever has done to get money is to take it from the American people. Think about that. Most of us, probably all of us who are watching this video right now, either work now or we have worked where we ourselves were the product of generating some source of revenue. Not something that we stole from somebody. It's not like I went to my neighbor's house and took some of their food and some of their money out of their bank account and went and gave it to somebody else. That's what Joe Biden does. We literally earn these things. And Joe Biden, in fact, if you want to be real honest about it, we're the ones who have put the food on Joe Biden's table via our tax dollars. So again, Joe Biden has been a scumbag and an asshole his entire life. What he thinks of me doesn't matter to me. I don't value his opinion in any way. In fact, it carries so little weight that had nobody made a big deal out of any of this stuff, I wouldn't even be talking about it right now, because I don't care what the man thinks. In fact, I don't care what people on the left think of me anyway. Do you think I'd still be making videos like I do if I cared what any of these wackos on the far left thought of me? Have you seen my comment section? There is no shortage of liberals who sneak their way into my comment section, and I do not delete their comments. I actually respond to their comments, and I leave them there. And in most cases, I will pin them at the top of my comment section on YouTube. So I value that input, but I don't have any value in what the thing is that they're actually saying, because I distrust them, and I don't have a very high opinion of them, which means I don't care what their opinion is of me in any kind of way, or of you. I don't care what they say about any of you guys or me. That's how little weight anything that they say has with me. Even Kamala had a really tough time saying how she didn't agree with some things that were said. She struggled with it, but I can tell you one thing, she is not happy with the fact that Joe Biden ran his mouth shortly after, actually during her little speech that she was giving, and then she has to come out and do cleanup as a result of this old fart crapping in his diaper and saying stupid things on some kind of a little podcast.
His comment last night about garbage.
Listen, I think that, first of all, he clarified his comments, but let me be clear, I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for.
And of course, you guys know that the media was quick to follow up and help them out. They actually talked about where an apostrophe was in what Joe Biden said. Politico immediately came out and said, they say this is the transcript that they received from the White House, but chances are they helped to construct this transcript from the White House. In other words, made suggestions to them on what they should do as far as putting in an apostrophe at the end of supporters. If you notice, they say the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. If that apostrophe was not there, then Joe Biden would have been, and we're making the wild, crazy assumption that they're telling the truth, and we know they're not. But just hear me out on this. If there was no apostrophe, we would be talking about multiple supporters, plural. In other words, the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters, meaning Donald Trump's supporters in numbers. By putting the apostrophe after the R and before the S, they are making this about one supporter. Understand what I'm saying here. We're talking about the English language here. I know a lot of people, the grammar they were not fans of. I was an English nerd. The apostrophe before the S means that they are talking about the words of one supporter. If that apostrophe had been after the S, it would be the words of all of his supporters. And with no apostrophe, it would mean just the supporters themselves, not the words or hateful rhetoric or whatever they're calling it of his supporters. So they were very strategic about where they placed that apostrophe. Again, I'm kind of surprised they did not put the apostrophe after the S, because then that would indicate that he was referring to the hateful rhetoric of all of his supporters. In this case, they're just trying to make it about that one comedian at Madison Square Garden and what he said. So this was their way to backtrack out of this. As we say in South Louisiana, they're trying to crawfish this, which means walking it back. But we know what he meant. We know exactly what he meant. We knew who he was talking about the moment he said it. And quite frankly, we have the same feelings of him. Again, folks, my feelings are not hurt. Isn't it funny how those of us center to right have a whole lot thicker skin? I mean, had they not been making a big deal out of this, like I said earlier, we wouldn't even be talking about this, because we're like, whatever. I mean, we know Joe hates us. We know Joe thinks we're garbage. Hillary has said things like that. They think we're all Nazis. They think we're deplorables. They think we're garbage. This is not new. No one on our side should be outraged about this. Now, I agree, it's perfectly fair to show the hypocrisy of them by pointing this out. But I don't know anybody who's mad about this. Oh, Joe Biden called me garbage. I knew that's what he thought of me. At least he had the balls to say it out loud, even if it was in some incoherent, drooling rant that he made while he was topping off his diaper. I knew Joe thought that of me already. The only thing I want to say in closing that is a little bit of fact-checking of my own. When they refer to the island of Puerto Rico as a floating pile of garbage, I want to make it very clear that that island of garbage does not float. That's the fact check I have. This is not a floating pile of garbage.
I don't understand the point that you're making.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America. He's so horrible.